right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Man Up Already podcast. And as always, I am super, super excited to have you here with me. And if you're watching the video, I am sporting my new hashtag Man Up Already shirt. Super pumped to have it and going to make these available to the public. I personally would love hashtag Man Up Already to just be out there, right? People like, yes, yeah, I need to do that. Yeah, I need to. Man, that's awesome. I want to wear that. I want to put it on a hat, put it on a shirt. I want to man up already, for gosh sakes. Going to be awesome. Hey, so welcome. You know, we've been talking every episode about the Man Up Already Growth Conference, which is coming up in just a couple of weeks now. June 10th, Port St. Lucie, Florida, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Going to be an incredible Saturday. Go to manupalready.com to get tickets to that event. It really is going to be awesome. Spent some time with our speakers last week, and it was such a great conversation. I'm super, super pumped for these guys to just bring what it is that they bring. So whoever's in the room, it's going to be a powerful event. And if you're a woman listening to this podcast right now, get your men to that event. If you're in the South Florida or Central Florida area, get your men to that event. If you're on the west coast of Florida or the north side of Florida, get your men to that event. It's worth the drive, it's worth the 5 hours, and it's definitely worth the man that's going to come back. So pretty excited for that, and I really am excited to just speak with you. No guest today, just me sharing some lessons, sharing my heart on some things. And I had an encounter this past week, and I was like, man, that is something I definitely want to talk about on the podcast. So I entitled this episode, How Much Is This Bad Habit Costing You? And what is that bad habit? Sarcasm. So how often do we use sarcasm in our conversations as a personality trait? Like, how sarcastic are you? How much sarcasm do you use with others? And I'm going to share with you that this bad habit, yes, not a good habit, it's not a great quality, we're going to talk about it. This bad habit is costing you a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of relationships. It's just not good to use. Now, people use it, and I would say only until you're like really like, are your skill here's let's start here. How would you rate on a scale of 1 to 10 your skill with people? Like, how good are you with building relationships? How good are you with keeping relationships? How big is your circle? How big are your connections? How good are your skills with people? And the only way you really could answer that is if you've read and studied books or been to seminars or taken courses on skills with people. And there are two great resources that I would refer you to really dive in and go, all right, how am I doing with people? Number one is the classic How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And I think they have How to Win Friends and Influence People now for the digital age. But I would absolutely read that book. Whatever form, you're going to learn something, how to win friends and influence people. And the second one is a book called Skill with People. I think the author is Les Giblin. And I remember when that book showed up, and the challenge was, because it only takes about 20 minutes to read, and the challenge was read that book every day for 20 days. So 20 minutes every day for 20 days, and you will get what's in that book in your head, and you will develop your skills with people. And here's a great test, right? Like, how many connections do you have? Like, do you have friends? Do you have connections? Do you have a posse, which we talk about? Like, what's your skill with people? Do you have mentors? Do you have people that are kind of playing a higher game than you are right now, maybe at a higher level of awareness, but open to spending time with you? How's your skill with people? How's your relationship skills? Like, all of these things matter. They all are a part of this conversation of just being good with people. And sarcasm costs you a lot. So what I was going to say is, unless you're like ultra schooled in your skill with people and know when to use sarcasm, without it being at the expense of somebody else, that's a different story. But I'm talking for the masses, stop using sarcasm. And here's why I say that. I watched this past week a really, really good guy. He used sarcasm in group, right? So it was a group conversation. It was through texting. And what he thinks is funny is being sarcastic, and he did it at the expense of another person in the group. And I just kept thinking, my gosh, you don't realize the damage that you're doing to your own credibility when you do that, right? So it was really, and knowing what I know. And by the way, I used to use sarcasm. I used to alienate people. When I was a young high school band director, especially in my 20s and my young 30s, I screwed up with people big time. I just did not know any of this stuff. And I, did what I was taught or what was done to me. And only until I learned, but I was like, oh my gosh, the damage I did to people, the screw ups that I made. Like, it was really tough for me to realize that not knowing these things was really, really, really hurting me. And I watched this happen with another guy who again is a great guy, could be a great leader, but when you do this, man, it's going to take you longer to get where you want to go, and you're going to create a lot more damage. So let's just, I looked up the definition. Okay, the definition of sarcasm, listen to this, is the use of irony to mock or convey contempt. So sarcasm is using irony to mock or convey contempt. So think about that. Every time we use sarcastic, we're really showing our contempt for someone, right? Or we're mocking them, okay? And that's, my gosh, think about it. Is that number one, if you were going to take a look at a list of personality traits to choose from, would sarcasm be the most desirable that you would choose based on that definition? And I bet the answer is no. Right? Do you deliberately go out to mock someone, or do you deliberately go out to convey contempt? And if you do, then there is more going on inside of you than there is outside in the world. I promise you that. So I really spent some time looking up this word and found in August in 2018 there was an article from goodtherapy.org, right? So if you go to goodtherapy.org and look up August 2018, you'll find this article in it. And what they said about sarcasm is this: sarcasm isn't humor, it's hostility, and it makes people feel bad. Some even believe that sarcasm is a sign of high intelligence. And I promise you, the guy that I witnessed do this, he thinks he's being funny and he thinks he has high intellect when he does it. Well, no. Well-developed wit is a sign of high intelligence. So often we can think sarcasm is wit, and it's not. Wit is insightful, and it shows us the world in a slightly new way. Great wit is a high art. Again, this comes from that article. Sarcasm, on the other hand, derives from Greek words that mean tearing of the flesh. Sarcasm is hostility. Sarcasm is hostility disguised as humor. Can't talk. Right? Sarcasm is hostility disguised as humor. That's why when someone says something sarcastic to you, you don't feel good, because it's hostility disguised as humor. Sarcasm is unsettling. If you challenge it, the person can say, "What? I was only kidding." How often have you heard that, right? When somebody is sarcastic, they go, "Really? That bothered you? I was only kidding." And I know I've been guilty of that in the past. When I read this, I was like, my gosh, right? Like, you just being sarcastic doesn't work, right? Think about it. It you don't feel good. It's hostile. It's unsettling. Okay, go back to the article. If you challenge it, the person can say, "What? I was just kidding." But it doesn't feel like they're kidding. It feels like veiled criticism. And I know when this guy used sarcasm in his communication, he was veiling his criticism, because that's exactly what it is, regardless of its superficial deniability. Again, from the article. Scary stuff, okay? So when we use sarcasm, we show our insecurities, we show our immaturity, and we definitely show our own lack of self-respect. Guys, this is so important. If you reap what you sow, which we talk about on here all the time, and using sarcasm really shows what's going on the inside, what's going on inside of ourselves. When someone with a weak self-concept uses sarcasm as a defense mechanism, right? It just shows what's going on inside, right? If you have a weak self-concept, you'll use sarcasm as really a defense mechanism, but it shows to everybody out there that you have a lower self-concept. Okay? And some people say, well, come on, man, that's who I am. And that is a victim-minded, self-defensive, immature person. That's when we use that, when we do that, when we're in leadership and we're sarcastic at the expense of others, whenever we do it, right? We just show our immaturity, right? We show our it's not good. We're victim-minded, self-defensive, and immature, okay? Now, we're always growing and changing. That's the nature of being human, okay? We act, we fail, we learn, we act, and then we show our growth through that action after we learn, okay? We only show our growth by active change. So if you're using sarcasm in your engagement with others, please stop immediately. Stop doing it. You're doing great damage to the people you're speaking with, okay? But more importantly, you're doing damage to your own reputation. And your reputation matters in this world. It does, right? Like if you want to get things done, if you want to move forward, if you want to win friends, influence people, if you need something to happen, right? People are going to look you up. They're going to check you out, right? What's going on? What's your reputation? What do people say when they hear your name? Okay, that is something to think about. Okay, how people see you represents how you will show up. So let's talk about, okay, like, what are you going to stand for? Okay, again, we all screw up. But will your screw-ups be small in the bigger picture of the good things that you put out there, right? In this long conversation of who you are. We all screw up. We're going to screw up all the time, okay? But it's kind of like, think about, I heard this one time, right? Putting in deposits and taking out withdrawals. Are there more deposits into the world that when you screw up, it's a withdrawal? Right? Now, if you have a lot of deposits, a withdrawal is not going to really make a big impact. But if you don't and you keep screwing up, right, that builds your reputation. You got too much withdrawals, right? Next thing you know, your bank account is closed, right? So same thing emotionally, spiritually, et cetera, et cetera. So choose today to think about really how you engage with others. What can you do to be better? What can you do to lift others up? What can you do, right? Instead of breaking people down by using, right, things like sarcasm or other passive-aggressive means, right, to preserve your own insecurities, what could you do to start really working on those things, taking action to build your own self-confidence? A great way, number one, is to speak into others, right? So you reap what you sow. What you put out there matters. Well, how about you start praising other people? How about you start texting people, hey, I'm thinking about you, you're awesome. How about on LinkedIn, hey, you're amazing, right? How about you start referring other people to your circle? Hey, just had a great conversation with so-and-so. They're awesome. They're unbelievable, right? Start putting it out there, because when you do, you start to feel good about you. I'm a person that lifts other people up, right? Like, you can't give what you don't have. right? So maybe you do it in a little ways, right? So that you can grow more, right? And you can get better, shine the light on others, and you'll feel good about yourself, right? But if we constantly just sit here and think, oh my gosh, I'm not in the best shape right now, or I don't like the way I look, I don't like the way I feel, if we just dwell on that, well, then we're not moving forward, right? We're either at a standstill or we're really moving back. I mean, look, as I get older, I'm noticing things changing for me, right? Like right now, I looked in the mirror today, I go, I don't know if this is how I really want to look. So I've got to go, well, what have I changed? What am I doing that's not working, and what changes can I make, right? And so I got excited by the fact that I know what I can change, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like, what can you change, right? Life is a self-defining, story, I guess. Meaning, I forget the right way to say that, but life is what you make it, right? If you're not happy where you're at, change, right? If you're not happy about your personality, well, change. If you recognize, oh my gosh, I'm using sarcasm and that's not good, change, right? You can change it, right? Speak with other people, right? Get some help, right? Touch him. Heck, john@manupalready.com. Shoot me an email. Say, hey, I heard your podcast. I want to connect with you. What do you think about this? And I'll help, right? That's the point. That's why we do this, okay? john@manupalready.com, right? And if you're having issues with other people, speak to them about it, right? It's okay. But don't use sarcasm to deal with it. Don't be passive aggressive. You could go to that person and go, hey, there's some things on my heart. I really want to speak to you about them. And just have a conversation. And I promise, right, the Bible talks about if you bring things to the light, that's where God is, right? You bring it out to the light, that's where healing can happen, restoration can happen. But when we cower in the darkness, that's just not going to get anything done, and that's really where the enemy plays. So anyway, I'm ranting. I wanted to talk about this week. I think it's really important, right? Stop using sarcasm, because how much is this bad habit really costing you? Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Looking forward to the next episode, and we'll see you soon, and we'll see you at the Man Up Already Growth Conference. Take care. It's always such an honor to have such incredible guests here on the podcast, and the podcast just wouldn't be what it is without our great sponsor, Master Beef Jerky. Head on over to masterbeefjerky.com. Check out their product. It is really incredible beef jerky if you're a fan like we are. It's made here in the USA. It's handcrafted. There's no MSG. It's low in fat. It's gluten-free. It's just freaking good. Their motto is bold flavor, tender bite, and they've got flavors like their original. They've got smoked barbecue, Korean barbecue, Western teriyaki, sweet and spicy, mango and pineapple, carne asada, garlic pepper, a Carolina Reaper flavor, and black pepper. It is good stuff. Head on over to masterbeefjerky.com, and on your order, if you put in coupon code MUAP, you will get 20% off. Master Beef Jerky, bold flavor, tender bite, and a great sponsor of the podcast.